and welcome back to Omen Exitio Plague. Hello, Zether. What is up with you, dude? Hello, Donovan. What is up with you? You're back at sea. Since your arrival in Zanzibar, you haven't had a moment's peace. Always been moving from place to place. Nonetheless, Helen's image is still engraved in your mind. The grief of her loss has torn you up inside. You hear her voice echoing in your head. She calls your name, pleading for your help. Jake. Jake, the horrors of your past still haven't left you. Not even here on the other side of the world. You are sleepy? Well, then go to bed, dude! Like, okay, I'm trying to think. Isn't it like 2 in the morning for you or something? Just finished The Walking Dead Season 5? You know, I'm not a fan of that series. I'm not. It's not for me. Lost in your thoughts, you hadn't noticed that the vessel you are on, which is much smaller than the ship that brought you to Zanzibar and just big enough to contain your squadron, has reached the docking point of a seemingly abandoned village. You don't know what to expect yet, but the idea of confronting the disease that Captain Smith was talking about is putting you on edge. Okay. You quickly disembark from the ship and you get in line. Smith examines you and orders a search of the village. Why do you keep... Thank you, we're in fucking Tanzania. Oh my god, if you keep... The map thing's gonna keep flipping out. It's gonna piss me off. You walk around the hut slowly and watchfully as if expecting an attack at any moment. Despite the village's abandoned appearance, you examine some dwellings and it feels like you're in a horror story. Some beds are still warm, there's still food and water on the table. An abandoned wooden toy and utensils give the impression of recent activity. It looks as if the people here have suddenly vanished, disappeared into thin air. Then you hear something, a sizzle in the air and an unidentifiable smell mixed with that of dying embers. You look and see smoke coming from behind a hut. Your heart skips a beat, maybe someone is still here. You move closer quickly. You can't stand the creeps this village is giving you. You go around the hut, and there right in front of you is the answer to all of your questions. The stink is on... Thank you for the hydrate, Donovan. The stink is unbearable and forces you to cover your nose with your hands. Flies do a grisly dance around the carbonized corpse. Flitting here and there like loose cannons. You stare at the bodies, stunned. Their flesh is covered by the remains of bonfire. Muscles exposed to the sparkling red embers. Their carved up expressions swallowed by the ashes. It's a pile of death, black smoke, and buzzing insects. Behind you, you hear someone approach at a quick pace. You recognize that unmistakable sound. You turn and see Captain Smith. He is clearly worried, although he's trying to hide it from himself and the rest of the men. All the men gaze at the bonfire with a blanket of silence falls upon you. I feel like this is step number 2 and this is step number 1. You move closer to the corpses slowly with some reluctance. Despite the chaos, you manage to examine some of them properly, and you can't see any visible wounds. You cannot know how they died, only by observation. But this could well be the disease. Is this what Smith had been talking about? That's not a good sign. As far as we know, this village should have been outside the containment area. The captain's initial hesitation betrays his concern. Smith pulls out a map from his backpack, and after having searched for it for a few moments and shows it to you, he points to the 3 small villages near the rebel camp. Okay. Smith, we are near the German border. We have to proceed carefully. There might be enemy soldiers in this area. You are deciding which village to explore first when a noise emanating from a hut startles you, making you turn instantly with your rifle ready to shoot. We didn't bring a rifle, though. Walking slowly and with a terrified expression, a man moves closer with his hands up in the air. You will lurk now? Thank you for the lurk, Zether. Have a good sleepy. Stop, I am friend. My name is... Basiria? I help. The man watches you with anxiety, still terrified of being riddled with bullets. His glances move frantically from one face to another, then it rests on yours. Smith gestures to lower their rifles. Then he steps forward and addresses Basiria. Basiria? Who is this? Basiria moves his eyes away from you like he woke up from some kind of trance and follows Smith's gaze to the pile of charred corpses. Food? First eat, then help. Smith snorts, annoyed. Give him something to eat. He's coming with us. He could be useful. Basiria continues smiling, and Ryan gives him a food ration from his personal provisions. Smith's eyes return to his map while he slowly moves over to yours. He passes the map to you. What do you think, Huntington? Where should we start from? It is clear that Smith is filled with confidence in your judgment. Your role in this mission is of primary importance. Woo. So we have 20 experience. Do we want to wait? Or do we want something else? I think we'll wait. Young black man who speaks your language, I'll bet with some difficulty. He is willing to be your interpreter with the locals. He's superstitious, but inspires confidence. Oh, okay. Oh, explore the South Village, explore the North Village. This one's next to a waterway. Let's explore that one. You enter the village, you are plunged into an eerie silence. You have a deja vu, reliving a memory that has come to knock at the door of your reality. It's exactly like the first handful of huts you saw when you came ashore. Empty homes and the signs of life that were extinguished in the blink of an eye. Smith gestures at you to split up and investigate while the vice of anguish grips your hearts once again. Suddenly you hear a noise coming from the bushes around you, the murmur of foliage disrupted by motion, branches rustling, the play of sunlight on the leaves turning into a dangerous glare. You whirl around, your heart skipping a beat, and you catch a glimpse of a shadow flitting from branch to branch. You exhale with relief. It's just a bird. You advance deep into the forest, branches twisting away from the trees as if trying to escape the hold of the trunk, as though they were frozen in their contorted attempt at escaping. Drawing disquietly shadows in the daylight through which they slice with crooked fingers. You could almost hear them screaming. No, you're really hearing a voice. Someone is actually screaming in this abandoned village. It's Bastiri! Oh no! Why would we just be like, nah, fuck this guy? You run, moving the branches away from your face, and those you miss scratch at you as if trying to hold you there to share their pain. While you get to the interpreter, he is in shock. He's upset, babbling, his eyes wide, gesturing frantically at the forest. Devil. You cannot understand what he means. Why would you not? You calm down at Basiria, putting your hands on his shoulders and looking him straight in the eyes. You let him vent and talk to you, replying to him in a calm and steady voice. You ask him to explain more clearly what devil he has seen. White man, naked, red eyes, cries blood, want to kill. You wonder what he could have seen, or whether his words, however implausible, are an accurate description of the truth. Could he really have seen a white man seemingly possessed? You don't have time to question him further. A figure suddenly appears out of nowhere and attacks you. It's a fair-skinned man shouting incoherent words. In an instant, he throws you to the ground and wraps his hands around your neck. Your visions grow dim, and small flashes seem to lure you into unconsciousness, your pupils filling with glowing flecks. You know you're about to lose consciousness as you struggle to breathe. His bloodshot eyes in the grip of madness are fixed on you. The man gnashes his teeth like an animal. And we're very bad at fighting. Like an animal's heart. We're not good at fighting. Also, this man seems crazy. and you don't fuck with crazy. You desperately struggle to writhe free from his hold, but you lack the strength to successfully oppose your enemy's grip. You try to scream, and the man reaches by tightening his hold on your neck. Your cries die in a raspy choke, and the reality surrounding you starts to fade away, fogged up and vague. You're about to lose consciousness when suddenly your enemy freezes, caught suddenly by Vespucci's bayonet. Now piercing his body from behind right through his spine, blood drips from the madman's mouth, and he stares at you wide-eyed and exhales his last breath before collapsing on you lifeless. You have been injured. Awesome. O'Bannon and Vespucci help you push the white man's body off you, dropping it aside. Your uniform is utterly drenched with his blood, and for a moment the exhaustion and stench prove a wave of nausea. You repress it, opting instead to reach for the hand that the Irishman has extended to help you back on your feet. Thanks. You catch your breath, eyeing in turn O'Bannon and mostly Vespucci. Without his intervention, you'd have surely died in that madman's frenzied chokehold. Don't mention it, mate. Just doing my duty. More to the point, though, what the devil got into him. A devil indeed, huh, Doc? O'Bannon tries to diffuse the tension. You proceed to examine the victim's body, and after a few minutes of analyzation, you're ready to give your diagnosis. You explain to your companions that you believe the case is a fever, most likely of the malaric type. The only thing that doesn't make sense are these wounds. Utterly foreign to malaria, or indeed any known disease. On the man's body, you observe lesions and small, bleeding sores. You turn the stranger's corpse on its front and inspect his back and neck. There you discover more of these wounds marking the skin, blood flowing profusely from them. On the back of his neck, you see something unusual. They look like insect bites, but they are symmetrical, as if they were left there deliberately in a precise order. They remind you of a diamond with a circle within. Nothing can be less natural than this. Oh my god, it's the eye! It's the eye, guys! In the meantime, Smith, Basiria, and other men from the regiment have joined you. The interpreter is still shaken by his previous experience and keeps his distance from the German, while Smith turns to you with an angry expression. We found the surviving villagers. The disease has spread to this place too. They say that the white man belongs to a larger group which abandoned him around here some days ago. You're troubled. This expedition is turning into an endless nightmare. Too many questions are crowding your mind right now. For a start, what was that man doing in this village? Was it mere chance? Was the situation set up deliberately? We are getting experience points like no one's fucking business. So we have 30. So now we have... We have 30. Should we put it into fighting? Or should we put it into something else? I think we should put it into medicine. During a reconnaissance in some villages in the African hinterland, you have encountered an infected man still alive who attacked you and was neutralized. You have noticed a strange mark on the back of his head. 4 punctures arranged in a rhombus with a circle in the middle. You know what? Let's just do that. Upon entering the village, you immediately feel a welcoming atmosphere. Smith is relieved when he sees men and women moving peacefully among the huts. 2 of them approach you. It's the shaman and his daughter. Do you speak our language? The girl smiles. She answers affirmatively and says she often deals with the British, who have decided to call her Lorraine? Lorraine? Sure. For ease. If you need to rest, you can stay here for the night. Smith looks at his men, and after a moment he nods, accepting the offer. Some rest will be good for you all. When evening falls and the men have organized themselves for the night, a big bonfire is lit in the middle of the village. O'Bannon sings a song and pulls out a bottle of whiskey, sharing it with the others. Ryan's dinner has refreshed you, and you can now enjoy a moment of quiet. The shaman moves closer and asks Smith to follow him. He wants him to go to his hut. The captain watches the man with a grim look on his face, and with the bonfire's flames reflecting the lenses of his glasses. And he stands without saying a word and follows the shaman into a hut that is bigger than the others. You notice that Lorraine, however, is moving away from the village. So what I want to do is I want to be like, what's going on with Smith? Right? Like, I'm more interested in what Smith is doing. Right? Lorraine is the shaman's beautiful daughter of one of the villages you visited. She helps her father with his duties and warmly welcomed you to her village. I think we're going to stay. You join O'Bannon's new drinking game. He already seems too drunk to understand when it's time to stop. Soon enough, his whiskey gets you all fairly drunk and you find yourself staring at the swaying heads of your comrades. Irishman seems unstoppable and continues singing cheerfully just as Lorraine approaches each of you with the big clay bowl. It holds the concoction she has prepared and she offers it to you and all the soldiers. Lost in the effects of alcohol, you all accept the offer to drink the mysterious liquid. Then you drink more whiskey to take away the awful taste of the concoction. The world around you starts to cloud, colors slowly blur, Colors slowly burst, starting to light up more and more, while the shapes of the objects and your comrades melt into weird, incomprehensible fractals. You don't know whether it's O'Bannon's whiskey or Lorraine's pungent mixture, but at some point you don't know whether you're awake or already dreaming. Your senses fail you, and you soon fall into a deep sleep. You sleep in the camp under the open sky. When you wake, the first thing that welcomes you is a violent, painful headache. You stagger to your feet, grumbling incoherently, muttering and stretching. The rest of the regiment is already having breakfast. You failed an achievement. So sad. Oh! That's gross. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of fucking gross. Because, like... One, I don't trust how old she is. Secondly, we're still grieving our wife. We're still thinking about our dead wife. That's gross, dude. You see the bottles of whiskey sat on the ground. You don't remember much about what happened. What mysterious liquids were they drinking? Something. Because there was the whiskey, and then there was whatever the hell she had. Yeah. You see the bottles of whiskey sat on the ground. You don't remember much about what happened last night. You join the men and start eating too. You're talking to Ryan while you eat some delicious bacon prepared by the Italian when Smith approaches. It's time to go. The men get ready and the captain talks to you. Did you find out anything about the disease? No signs of disease in this village, Captain. I managed to talk with a shaman and he told me some men in tunics have crossed the border. Everyone in the nearby village is talking about it. They may be involved with the disease. We need to be careful. One last village, I guess. You reach the village, which has its border delimited by its huts. The air is gloomy and almost solemn, and a group of people, men and women, are swaying from side to side, singing in the middle of a rural square as if bewitched by a spell. Smith gestures for Basiria to go and talk to them. The reek of death meets your nostrils. The interpreter approaches one of the men standing in the circle. They speak softly for a few moments. The man listens and nods while Basiria comes back. Smith asks him what's happening. A funeral. The men are gathered around a bonfire and the whole village is covered by a thin shroud of ash. Some corpses must have burned here too. You suppose the camp survivors you previously reached went directly to these groups of huts. You can see dead bodies wrapped in these sheets being taken from the hut nearby to the bonfire. The fire is about to be lit once more. You have to prevent those bodies from being burned at all costs. If you want to know more about the disease, it may be your only chance. Examine these still fresh corpses before the natural process of decomposition makes it impossible to identify any distinguishing figures in the disease. Wouldn't you ask Syria? But Syria exchanges some words with the villagers who seem confused and shocked. They are not persuaded by the interpreter's words, or maybe they just don't understand why one would want to examine corpses. You approach the bonfire without hesitation and start to examine the bodies. The villagers make no attempts to stop you, and they seem engrossed by something else. One whispers fearfully to a fellow villager and steps back for no apparent reason. You're not sure what Syria told them. but he must have been very convincing. You put such thoughts out of your mind and go on with the examination. There are abrasions on the bodies, but no wounds. The corpse's eyes are bloodshot, and after taking a better, deeper look, you realize that these men have probably had several hemorrhages. The abrasions must be what is left of their infected sores. The dead cannot tell you anything more. You move away from the bonfire and signal to Batsyria, who immediately says something to the villagers. The ritual restarts as though you had never interrupted it. And the people dancing and chanting have you... Oh my good lord. As though you never interrupted it, with the people dancing and chanting. You have taken only a few steps away when you hear the crackling of fire behind you. The flames are rising up, consuming both wood and rotting cadavers. You respectfully stay silent to observe the ritual, watching the bodies burning and shriveling in the bonfire. The funeral chant is bewitching. They are singing a dirge, which seems to come from another world. For a moment, you are enchanted and mesmerized. A shout puts a sudden stop to the chanting. A woman emerges from a hut screaming and tries to throw herself into the bonfire. The villagers manage to stop her before she can reach the flames. The woman, weak with despair, is carried away and taken to a corner. Some men keep an eye on her to prevent her from attempting to reach the bonfire, and her whimpers are uneven, interrupted by her weeping and shaking. You signal to Batsyria to follow you while you approach her. She is now taken on a fetal position and rocking back and forth. The woman keeps shaking and talking nonsense for a few moments, but Syria's words seem to work. She raises her tear-stained face, stops her nonsensical muttering, and begins answering the interpreter's questions. What is she saying? She wants to run, escape. You raise an eyebrow, wondering what Syria speaks the same dialect as the woman. Is clear she didn't want to run. She wanted to kill herself. Maybe the interpreter is making fun of you, and the woman is talking nonsense again. You go back to observing the villagers' ritual. I think that might be a cultural difference of understanding, because death is a way to run away from your problems. When you die, you have no more problems. The problems cease to exist. They are now instead passed on to somebody else. You go back to observing the villagers' rituals. Their funeral chants and dances have resumed around the bonfire, and they look as though they are under the effects of some kind of hallucinogenic drug. But Syria continues to keep an eye on the woman, who meanwhile seems to have calmed down completely. He's talking to her, probably trying to figure out more about the situation. Suddenly you hear a loud thud behind you, and when you turn, you see the interpreter pushed to the ground by the woman, who nimbly avoids you and sprints towards the bonfire. This time the villagers are too focused on the ritual, and they notice the running figure too late. She is enveloped by the flames. The groaning cries of the people are silenced by the screaming coming from the bonfire. It's an agonizing and inhumane wailing. It's an agonizing and inhumane wailing in the face of what no action can be undertaken but horrified staring. Everyone watches the dark shape of the woman fading into the roaring fire, her features horribly disfigured by the bright white flames. The ritual is nearly over and the flames are dying. Nobody wants to get close to the ashes and human bones, probably afraid of seeing the remains of the suicidal woman. Your comrades are fearfully murmuring they want to retreat. I've never heard such screaming. There's a first time for everything, Huntington. Screams of pain are always dreadful. It's hard enough to hear them when it's you doing the killing, but these days they get into your mind and never leave. After a short silence, you and the men move on from the village to your next destination. The agonizing yell of that woman still echoes in your mind. After having finished searching the 3 villages, you continue the reconnaissance mission towards the rebel camp, which you had noticed on the map at the beginning of the mission. Smith seems worried that the disease might have reached the men from this village, who are, in theory, friends and allies. At the entrance of this village, you find armed men waiting for you. They have European weapons. Smith gestures to his men to remain calm, while one of the villagers heads towards you and speaks. He is obviously tall and strong, despite his garments hiding his muscles. He has a hostile and suspicious look, and when he talks, his face, which is disfigured and scarred, barely moves. Oh no, foreign names. I don't think you say the K. Or maybe you do, but there's like a missing letter here. There's like, okay, so like when I say a missing letter, I mean that there is like a sound that like is carried by the M and the K, but like it's really difficult for English speakers. Makawiya? Makawawa? Sure. I fight against the German army for the liberation of my people. If you come in peace, you're welcome in this village. If you come to make trouble, you will not see the sunrise tomorrow. I am Smith, the captain of this regime, and have no hostile intentions. We'd like to discuss a group of enemies which have... Makawawa moves quickly. An arm comes from his garment, stretching out his hands in front of him, upright and steady, interrupting the captain's words. Good. You come in. You wait here. Mikawawa points to you, Smith, and Batsiria, and gestures for you to go beyond the entrance of the village. You approach the captain and ask for explanations while you start walking behind the rebel chief. The rebels are on our side. They often spill over into British territories to escape the chase of our common enemy, the Germans. They are a good ally in this war. Mikiwawa orders some of his men to watch the other members of your unit. He has an iron and authoritative voice, but unlike Smith, he doesn't need to raise it to be heard. He moves his hands, and the gesturing of his body seems to hypnotize anyone he faces, inducing them to bend to his will. The British government supports you, Mikiwawa. You don't need these precautions. We are on your side. Mikiwawa's mouth twists when he starts to talk. Mikiwawa is on his side only. I trust no one. I'll protect my people at all costs, British or German. If you are my guests, you follow my rules. Smith remains silent for a few instances, then he turns to you and Batsiria, giving a knowing glance. The message is very clear. Captain nods to you, and he turns back to Mikiwawa. Okay, we only have 8. Mikiwawa looks like a rugged and strong man. While he is the chief of the village protected by the British Army, he doesn't seem to like any foreigner, foe or friend alike. What do you know about the disease? Mikiwawa glares back at you, his eyes scrutinizing you, trying to read your intentions. He switches from you to Batsiria to Smith, where his eyes stop. Their huge personalities seem to clash for a handful of tense, silent seconds, fighting a battle without winners or losers. Both men refuse to stop staring at one another. I have heard stories of people who cry blood, people who suffer. No sick man has entered my village. They died before. He just said no. Although Mikiwawa is unfathomable, seemingly incapable of showing emotion, his men immediately become jittery at the mention of the disease, exchanging anxious looks and holding their weapons to their chest as if they could protect themselves from the disease. Screams burst through the village gates, your stomach lurches, turning upside down and pushing against your lungs. Your heart rate starts beating rapidly while you can't help thinking, this was a trap all along. Were you wrong to trust these men? You run towards the screams, followed by Smith and Batsiria. Some rebels are carrying an injured man to the clearing, where they put him down gently. You take a breath. Your comrades are safe and sound. Then you get to work, bending down to tend to the injured man. You ask for a light. You see the conditions of his wounds. The injured rebel is screaming in agony. He has a nasty wound on his stomach, and it seems painful, probably caused by the bayonetta piercing his flesh, barely missing his organs. You can try to save him. Why would you just fuck this guy? Fuck this guy. You barge through the men and pull out your medical kit. You clean the wound to prevent infection and quickly suture it carefully. That's all you can do in the moment. We did a thing. I was right to do the medicine. I was like, I think medicine might be really useful. He must be taken care of, but he'll live. Okay. Medicine is going to cost 40. I feel like speechcraft might be good here. Maybe. I don't know. He grabs frantically at your sleeve, but from the pained expression on his face, he seems to want to tell you something. You move closer. Injured man. Not the well, I beg you. You don't understand what the man means. You'd like to ask him directly, but you suddenly realize how messy the situation is getting. Mikiwawa is shouting at his men, who head inside the hut to gather weapons. You approach Betsyria to ask him for clarifications. Germans, come. You have no idea what Germans want from this village, but you don't like it at all. You are still reflecting on links between Mikiwawa's camp and the Germans' means when you think of the injured rebel. If a battle is to happen here, you need to carry him to a safe place. You remember his face well. He seemed terrified. You remembered he mentioned a well. What did he mean? You see Betsyria from afar, and he gestures for you to follow. You instinctively move closer for a moment. The man loses himself, staring at you with a weird, almost stupefied smile. Then he blinks and pulls himself together, pointing to something. A whale in the middle of the village. How did you not notice it before? The rebels are busy arranging the village defense. It's clear they weren't expecting such a sudden invasion, and they're running in all directions, bringing equipment and weapons, and yelling in their language. Smith walks away to warn the rest of the troops to get ready if reinforcement is needed. No one notices you, so you decided this is the right moment to get a closer look at the well and try to figure out. You lean out and try to look into the well. It's dark, but you search for an angle which allows you a better view. With your other senses vigilant, you can feel something. There seems to be some whimpers coming from the bottom of the well. You're trying to lean over further, but you see out of the corner of your eye that some people are coming. Probably rebels. You hide. We did it. Two men are approaching, carrying something, a corpse wrapped in the blanket. You are forced to look away, flattening yourself against the rock of the well and sitting there. You hold your breath when the two men's shadows are projected beyond your position, listening. You hear the heavy weight swaying and the thud of the body thrown into the well. The sound of the cracking bones makes you shiver. You think about Mikiwawa's words, "No sick man has entered my village, they die before." You wait to hear if there are any more steps, ensuring that the men are leaving, and then you come out of your hiding place and go examine the well more thoroughly. The little abyss in the ground hides more than mere mud. Oh, we're gonna get fucked. Well, I don't think we have the agility for it. I really don't. We don't have the agility for it, but I think we should try anyway. Yep. I heard that sound and I was like, that means we fucked up. You climb over the well with Karen under its mouth. You grab onto the edge and start to search for protruding stones to climb down. You can't see a thing and your foot misses a foothold. You slip, falling into the well. You take a hard blow to your back, but you're still in one piece. You have been injured. A sugary smell immediately attacks your nostrils. You perfectly recognize the rotting stench of the place. The sounds of your steps echo against the walls of the little cave, letting you know that around you the descent widens into a bit of a dome, forming a half-spherical dip which surrounds you in a claustrophobic ring. You take a few steps back before your right foot meets something soft. You lower your sight and you find a couple of wide open eyes. It's the man you tried to help, dead and smashed on the well bottom. Your heart stops for an instant and you step back. When your eyes start getting used to the darkness, you begin to realize there are several corpses piled up in the well. Some kind of mass grave, or maybe the place where people convicted by Mikiwawa end up. A sudden wailing which bounces on the cave's wall makes you jolt. You crouch and stretch your arms out in front of you, groping around to avoid falling over the corpses. There must be someone still alive down here, you are sure of it. You touch many dead bodies, some of them already rotting. A knot tightens in your stomach and you have to draw on all of your forces and willpower not to vomit. While you explore that awful pitfall of petrification, you find more recently dead body, and although you can't see it, you reach for the nape of its neck with your fingers, and your fingertips brush against a swelling you know well. The diamond puncture an inner circle. Mikiwawa lied. You don't have a lantern and you can't see any more of this. You have nothing to do. Go back. Try climbing back up, but it's definitely more complex than the descent. A trickle of sweat falls down the nape of your neck, and the thought of getting stuck in this awful place turns your muscles into jelly. You can't imagine how these men felt when thrown inside the well. They found themselves still alive, left there to miserably die of starvation. You put these thoughts out of your mind. You must get out somehow. You yell up at the top of the well for help, but there is no reply. At some point, when your throat is becoming painfully hoarse, you see a rope being lowered into your prison without hesitation and your eyes filled with tears. You grab it and quickly climb to the surface. It's Betseria, who greets you with his bizarre wild look. He smiles at you, pulling the top of the rope, allowing you to escape the terrible fate. Without a thought, you embrace him, showing the extent of your gratitude and relief. Then you decide to go back to Smith and the rest of the men. Your clothes are still saturated with the stench of death, and you'll unlikely forget the horrors you just witnessed for a long time. Not even therapy's gonna help you, buddy. Smith is gathering his men with his usual military frown. When he notices you approach, he sees your distraught face. Alarmed, he grabs your shoulders and starts shaking violently. Huntington, where have you been? What is the stench? Captain, I've searched the well in the middle of the village. It's full of corpses. Mikiwawa is hiding something. I think you're right, Huntington. We've picked a terrible ally, and I can't let this fanatic threaten me or my men. Smith's expression shows in aversion and disgust towards the rebel chief, a tyrannical ruler able to subjugate his entire tribe with terror. After a slight hesitation, Captain needs to come back to his senses regarding his military bearing, and he gives an order to the men. Ready your weapons. The Germans are coming. All of Mikiwawa's men are gathered in the village square. You join them, getting into formation alongside them to organize the village's defense. The Germans are coming. You are seized by doubt. Why did Mikiwawa need to lie about the disease? What is the real source of his secrecy and lack of cooperation? While you're deep in thought, you see Smith moving towards the rebel chief, ready to confront him. The two men look intently at each other for a short while their stares meeting as if trying to defeat one another. Even before the two men start talking, it's trench warfare, a war of attrition, which neither of the adversaries seem to want to lose. Finally, when it's clear that both men that the rival won't lower their eyes, Smith is the one who starts talking. I don't like it when an ally of mine hides information from me. If we survive, we'll have much to discuss. What happens in my village is no business of yours. Mikiwawa's words make Smith twitch, and he becomes visibly enraged. As for the rebel chief, Mikiwawa is still staring straight back at your captain. The two men seem ready to come to blows at any moment. Smith's voice is getting louder and louder, and Mikiwawa's composure starting to waver under the military's man-verbal assault. You feel you were wrong about sharing your doubts with Smith in such a delicate moment. You must try to do something to prevent the situation from getting worse. Don't reason with this man. Don't reason with this man. Reason with Smith. Captain, this is not the moment to create friction with our allies. The Germans will be upon us at any time now. Yes. I don't feel like you could reason with the other guy. I really don't. That's just not how. That just would not work out very well. Yay! How many points do we have? 16. We're gonna do... We're gonna do agility, because we're gonna come into an agility situation soon enough again, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're also gonna see a fighting thing, because the Germans are coming! Not the Germans! Captain Smith freezes upon hearing your words, as if he realized he has crossed the line. You're right, Huntington. The captain exhales, then approaches the rebel chief in a much calmer manner. In this critical moment, cooperating to the best of your ability is paramount. A gunshot seemingly from nowhere interrupts the heated discussion. One of Mikiwawa's men drops to the ground like a sack of potatoes. Without a word or even a whimper, he dies suddenly, leaving only a dry thud and a small cloud of dust. The shots come from afar and is immediately followed by more. You're under attack. The Germans are here. The village is plundered into chaos, and you find yourself lost, pushed around, and blindly not really knowing what to do. Just a minute ago, you were trying to consolate Smith and Mikiwawa in their altercation. Now you have no idea where to go. With an effort, you manage to focus, look around, and get a general idea of the situation, and prepare to face the enemies. You glance at those around you. Right now, there are no more disagreements, quarrels, or changes of attitude. Gone are the healthy men, the diseased, the threats, and everything you have lived before the enemy arrived. Screams of gunfire are the only sound which can be heard inside the village. You and the rebels are united in a single, desperate mission: survival. The Germans advanced, and more start emerging, ghost-like, from the dense jungle. Where you are crouched is overly exposed to the enemy, so when you notice O'Brien running towards a nearby hut, you opt to follow him. Unfortunately, the cover fire provided by your companion doesn't appear to be enough to protect you from the German guns, so much that you are forced to change your trajectory, ending up in another home. You look out to the darkness of the night. You can't see anything. You aim your weapon into the darkness. Outside of the raging sounds of fighting carries on. Shots and screams swirl together in the furnace of battle. Then a different sound, clear and very close behind you. You spin around to see the light reflecting off the blade of a knife as it slashes through the air, right about the height of your neck. Oh, we're fucked. Oh, we're fucked. Both of these were fucked. At least with this, we can try to make the blow not deadly. Awesome. We fucked up. Oh, that sounds bad. You try to dodge the enemy's attack, but you still receive a flesh wound on your arm. However, with your opponent off balance, you manage to get him to the ground with a sharp kick. A rebel comes in right as the enemy is about to counterattack, and he fires, killing him. You have been injured. Again. By now, all of the Germans have reached the village. They are a resolute, disciplined group, never breaking formation. They move as one with such precision that they resemble machines more than flesh and blood humans. The rebels and your companions are hiding patiently, waiting for the right moment to attack and catch the invaders off guard. Time seems to stretch and all sound becomes muffled. You're charging. You vaguely remember when you started running or screaming, kicking the dirt off the ground beneath you. The dust engulfs you, accompanying your charge, swirls around you as if to lash at your enemies. You cannot see them from amongst the chaos prelude to the battle, but you know that O'Bannon and Vespucci are at your side, and you've caught a glimpse of Betsyria joining the attack. On Wednesdays, I have early days. Also, hello, Disaster. What is up with you, dude? Even though all the rebels have joined you in setting upon the Germans, the enemy's defense provide to be very effective. They stand firm side by side like an ancient Greek phalanx, and bullets rain down on whoever tries to get close. A barrage of gunfire ensues, wave after wave of lead crushing into your comrades and the rebels. Mikiwawa incites the rebels to fight and not give up. He's shouting for the first time since you arrived in his village. He resembles a deity, standing tall in the midst of his small army. He yells like a man possessed, waving his arms and shouting orders as if his words were infused with a magic capable of turning them into reality. Thinking about with what? Is it I don't know. Horrified, you see Ryan hit by a bullet. You manage to get close to him, but it's too late now. You turn around and see another soldier stab Betsyria in the stomach with a bayonetta. You call the half-Italian's name. You don't even know how many times shaking him by the shoulder, trying to bring him back from the cold embrace of death. Not Ryan! Ryan! Panic chokes you and rips you away from that eerie, suspended world your mind was stuck in. Time regains its usual speed and the roar of battle shakes the very ground. Then a German soldier is suddenly upon you, but you manage to stop the blade of his bayonet a couple inches from your neck. Oh, boy. I guess we're gonna fight this. Let's see, we have 22 experience. Let's go with fighting. We're gonna give ourselves an edge. These brothers in arms. Oh, no. We could have saved him. We could have saved Ryan. But I'm too much of a fuck. I hate Starbucks, by the way. Starbucks can go burn to the ground and I will not shed a single tear. No, not Ryan. You see the enemy's blade a few inches from your neck. The German tries to skewer you, but your bullet is faster. You fire a gunshot at close range, piercing the enemy's lungs. He crumbles lifelessly on top of you. I love Duncan. Give me the Duncan. I love Duncan so much. I love calling it Duncan. You opt to hurry towards the hut and to safety. Paralyzed by fear, you cannot move or use your common sense to do anything but catch your breath and listen to the sound of the battle, which are growing more and more violent. Suddenly, a grubby hand covers your mouth, filling you with the bitter taste of sweat and dirt. You try to wiggle free, but to no avail. The man behind you is holding with the strength of an iron vice and prevents you from making even the tiniest of movements. The man begins to speak, almost whispering right into your ear. Despite his heavy German accent, he speaks your language. You recognize his voice. Mr. Huntington, fear not, we are on the same side. I've been told you've resumed your research. I'm glad you followed my advice. The man mercifully takes his hand off your mouth. Where the fuck did you come from, dude? Meyer, what are you doing here? What do you want from me? I'm here for you, Mr. Huntington. We need to join forces. Tell me what you have discovered in these villages. A terrible doubt creeps into your mind. The attack, the disease, is everything connected? Could Meyer himself be the one that... I don't know why you do that. Because if you beg, he doesn't think that we're gonna do some double thinking here. So, like, if you beg, I realized I didn't read the entire paragraph. Could Meyer himself have been the one to leave you the message on the ship? This man seems to know everything already. So, if you beg, Riot, you give the idea in this man. You give off an idea to this man that you might be difficult. But if we try to lie, right, we also might be seen as difficult, but we also might succeed. And he might not think that we have lied directly to his fucking face. So, you choose to tell Meyer how you observe some diseased people study their bodies and learn something about their symptoms. So you were able to see how dangerous this disease actually is, Mr. Huntington. We need your help to study it. The sound of battle grows fainter. It would seem the rebels have the upper hand. Meyer appears to be distracted as if you weren't paying attention. You glimpse a sense of apprehension on his face, making it clear that it's time for him to run for cover. The mysterious man briskly takes his leave and vanishes from sight. Badly hurt. Cool. We are badly hurt. The Germans have been chased away, leaving the hut. You see the rebels celebrating their victory. Smith and Migiwara are talking. It looks like the tension between them has subsided, smoothed over by the stress and adrenaline of the fight. The rebel chief even ventured a thin smile, making his forbearing, mysterious mask crumble. The man hands a bundle over to the captain, who shortly after joins you and the other survivors. Here, Huntington. You catch the bundle Smith throws at you. It's filled with provisions. We'll need them for the trip. You pack the provisions in your backpack. The soldiers are mission ends here. We're heading back to headquarters. Yay! I'm thinking. I will do another chapter of this. I'm so sad we lost Ryan! You have left the village and the battle you fought. You're walking exhausted and forlorn, along with the rest of the troop. However, at least for now, you are no longer in danger. Let's set up a camp. The captain watches you, turning his gaze to the horizon as if he were mentally calculating the distance to the coast where you moored your ship. After pondering for a short while, he nods. Some rest will do us good. You don't even get to take another step. Your head is spinning. The foliage around you seems to sway in an attempt to reach you. Thrust out with darting tendrils that slither and hiss. You lose your balance and fall, hitting your head on the ground. You hear Smith's worried voice. Asking after you. What's going on, Private? Answer me, Huntington. The captain's voice fades out. You feel like you're sinking, and for an instant, the falling sensation brings you back to Mikiwawa's village. Wow. Falling towards a soft but awkward landing on rotting corpses before you can actually come to the end of that downward flight. Your sensors falter, and you lose consciousness. You're home again, in London. In the London you know so well. Was it all a dream? This disease, Zanzibar, the battle? Did they really take place? You're walking around your home, carrying a tray. It's loaded with hot tea, a cup of sugar cubes, and some butter cookies. You climb the stairs to get to the bedroom and open your door. You immediately turn your eyes towards the reclining woman asleep on the bed. You pause for a while, watching her form caressed by the sheets and her soft blonde curls spread across the pillow. Moving closer to the bed, you call to her softly. She doesn't answer, so you put the tray down on the side table and shake her gently, still receiving no answer. You put your hand on your shoulder and gently turn her on her back. Helen's eyes don't see you, and you're certain they never will again. They're staring at the ceiling, or maybe right through them, probably begging for help in the silence death has cursed her lips with. Your Helen is staring into the void, and you cannot even return her stare. Startled, you stand up briskly, bumping into the tray. It crashes to the ground, shattering its contents. You then lean towards her, holding her corpse in your embrace, desperately trying to give her the warmth of your body. You whisper her name. A sudden litany, but there is no longer a voice to answer you, nor a hand to catch your tears. You come to with a stab of anguish. You're lying beside the campfire. You try to stand up, but you're too weak. You don't need your medical expertise to know that you're feverish. Your mind immediately turns to a mysterious illness, and a shiver runs down your spine. Have you been infected? You cannot let yourself come to this. You don't want to die such a repulsive death. Okay. You force yourself to stand as your stomach groans disagreeably, debilitating you in many ways, including giving you extremely violent waves of nausea. It takes you some time before you pull yourself together. Hey, Doc, we'd almost decided where to bury you. You're lucky you woke up. Smith approaches with a hint of appreciation on his face. How are you feeling, Huntington? Why would you lie to him? Are you sure? I cannot yet be positive, Captain, but I suspect my fainting earlier was not caused by exhaustion. Come on, Huntington, you can't give up now. Keep in mind that it could just be simple malaria. As soon as we get to Stone Town, you'll be able to recover. The captain is dismissing your suspicions, or maybe he's just trying to reassure you. He's completely ignoring the possibility that you're infected, and he turns his back on you as he shoulders his backpack again before looking you straight in the eye. Now get a move on. We need to get going right now. Smith gives you something to eat, and then he's on his way. You don't really feel strong enough for a long march, but you certainly don't have the luxury of resting or falling behind. You stand and follow him, forcing yourself onward. You head towards the shore with the purpose of reaching the vessel you arrived on as soon as possible. Smith seems very anxious. He is probably worried that the Germans are in pursuit. Vesteria died in the fight against the Germans, and so did Ryan. You and the half-Italian shared a lot. How many evenings had you spent talking to him, peeling potatoes and preparing the ingredients for his delicious meals? The half-Italian always knew how to mix ingredients to create the most satisfying results. In the kitchen as well as life, his advice always helped you move forward. It was your fault, and his... And this thought echoes violently in your mind. Myra was looking for you specifically. Is this even possible? Are you feverish? You look down at Stone Town, and now he pops up in the middle of the war between Germans and the rebels. This can't be a mere coincidence. Why wouldn't you tell Smith? Captain, the Germans who attacked us, I am not sure they were aiming at the rebels. It could all be connected to the disease. And what do you think they wanted exactly, Huntington? Huntington, I doubt the disease has anything to do with it. There's a secret war going on between us. That is the reason they attacked. You can smell the salty air, and you can see the beach on the horizon. The one where you came ashore at the beginning of the mission. You breathe a sigh of relief. You doubt your body could have taken any more of this. After some minutes, you enter the village where it all started. There lies fresh corpses, but you see that these have been killed in the fighting. You fear that the Germans are involved, but you keep it for yourself. You continue along the shore where you find a bitter surprise. A boat arrived here is now unseaworthy since the keel has been damaged, probably in a storm. Smith's shoulders fall, losing for once his flawless military posture. You have no time to answer when a voice interrupts you from behind. You all turn. It's a villager talking, approaching you all on the sand. He smiles and speaks English effortlessly. Good day, soldiers. Do you need to cross the sea? I was just about to leave with my boat. Everyone except the Germans are welcome. It turns out the man lives on the coast nearby. He often trades with the British. He exhibits a certain distaste for the Germans. He has a small vessel which you could sail to Zanzibar. We're kind of fucked if we don't. Sure. The captain nods tired. He agrees with you. The man answers with a smile and gestures you to follow. We're at the ocean. Again. Once again, the sea surrounds you. This time, however, the open blue expanse cradles you and you feel genuinely lighthearted. You are leaving a threat further and further behind you, although rather than leaving, one might say you ran away. The man who's helping you return to Zanzibar does not have a very large boat, but is still big enough to carry you all to Stone Town. You have lost most of the regiment in the battle against the Germans. What is your name? Abus. I think asking him would be okay. Let's say I have a debt to the British Army. He smiles and says no more, but looking at him in the eyes, you get the idea that he must have suffered a great injustice or abuse at the hands of your adversaries. You suppose the kindness he shows you is due to the hatred he has for the Germans rather than his friendliness towards the British. You remain fixated on the hypnotic motion of the waves, tiny ripples that engulf each other, vanishing in the foam from where they had only just materialized. Then you turn to your comrades. Smith sits in the corner of the boat, packing his pipe with his eyes fixed on the horizon, deep in his thoughts. Then you turn to look at O'Bannon, noticing a deep wound on his right leg. His trousers are completely soaked in blood. Ed, you're bleeding. This, you mean? Don't worry, it's just a flesh wound. Either the booze has softened the pain, or it's gone. Treat his wounds, Jesus Christ. You ignore his boasting and approach him. You clean his wounds and stitch it up with your equipment. Luckily, he's utterly drunk and feels almost nothing. Thanks, mate. The return trip is slow. The fisherman's boat, unsurprisingly, can't reach the speeds of your previous vessel was capable of, especially with the unfavorable wind. Albus seems a bass. It's not Albus. It's a bass. A young local fisher who decides to help you in your time of need, offering to escort you to Zanzibar with his boat. He trades with the English, whom he admires, and harbors bitterness towards the Germans. Abus seems to be doing his utmost and without ever losing his smile, but he obviously has no control over the weather conditions. Your stomach grumbles, and the others seem hungry too. You get out the provisions Smith gave you after the village fight and begin rationing them, giving everyone his share without hurry. Of those who reach out to you, every missing hand reminds you of your companions lost on the mission, adding to the weight of your heavy heart, which is a feeling you're surely sharing with what's left of the regiment, if you can even call it that. The sea is calm and the sun is setting on the horizon. Your mission in East Africa has completely worn you out. You find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and fall asleep easily, cradled by the waves that softly rock the boat. What's your husband's first name? It's Jebediah. Is he in Dixord? No. He doesn't really have activities, like, outside of just the occasional, like, popping into stream. You are in your flat in London. You're walking a tray to your hands. On top of it, there is a cup of steaming tea, a few cubes of sugar, and a tiny plate and some butter cookies. You climb the stairs, and when you arrive at the bedroom, you open the door. Helen is in bed. She's asleep in... Is she dead? You call her softly, but no answer is forthcoming, so you shake her gently. She turns to face you and opens her eyes, smiling at your presence. Then you notice something. A dark stain is seeming to seep out from between her teeth, small at first, then growing larger and larger. The sticky liquid swells out through her gums, dripping from her lips. The same happened to her eyes. Black tears started to streak her face, its blood running more and more copiously. You uncover her frantically, realizing immediately that her body is covered with wounds. Her once perfect skin is marred with bleeding sores. You look at her back, her neck. On her nape, you see unmistakably the strange punctures you saw on the diseased corpses in Africa. No, it wasn't like that. You're sure she didn't die that way. You move further away from the bed as Helen falls helplessly on the mattress and starts screaming in a strange unknown language. When she raises her head, she looks at you with demon-like inhuman eyes as if she were about to transform into a beast. You refuse to look at her. You close your eyes and let out a loud cry in the darkness. You open your eyes, startled into sitting up. The stars are twinkling in the sky, and below you can only hear the rumbling of the sea, rhythmically moving the boat. You look around and see that Abus is the only one awake, although he doesn't seem to mind you. His gaze is fixed upon a precise point in the dark waters, as if his attention had slipped towards what lies beneath the water's surface, perhaps far below to the abyss itself. The boat jolts abruptly, then begins to roll faster, as bigger and higher waves loom over the boat. The fisherman started to scream in his native language as he struggles to maintain the helm. It would seem something is trying to rip it from his hands. The boat rolls violently. The deck's bridge almost cries and groans in pain as if it were to break at any moment, and then everything ceases. The boat stills suddenly. The sea once again becomes calm and tranquil. The quiet only lasting for a brief moment. Something is coming out of the water slowly. You can make out a silhouette hanging over the gunwale, swaying frantically. More dark shadows join the first creeping ship in the night, slithering onto the deck, taking hold of the vessel, and starting to wrap tightly around it. Oh my goodness, it's fucking crack-it time. They are enormous tentacles, soon embracing the boat entirely. Once you hear the sound of wood groaning under the pressure of those horrifying appendages, a tentacle reaches inside the boat like a snake searching for something. That something is you. You jerk awake, screaming at the top of your lungs. Your travel companions stare at you, unnerved. What's up, Jake? Did you have a bad dream? His tone of voice is mocking. Leave it, Ed. I think I'd rather have some whiskey to relax now. You stand up and look over the horizon. You hope that some movement, however small, may take away the unsettling sensation the nightmare has bequeathed you. Over in the distance, you see the land slowly getting closer. There is a good amount of Duncan merch. I do not need Duncan merch. I don't like corporate merch. I really don't. Like, I remember I saw, what was it? I saw it in Target that they were selling, like, they had, like, they had this, like, Target brand, like, I think it was, like, this Target brand, like, cash register, and it was so that your, like, toddler could pretend they work at a hellscape like Target, and it was like, oh, that's weird. I don't like that. Over in the distance, you can see the land slowly getting closer. Land at last. Your camp awaits you. The prelude to arriving back home, the tension you've been accumulating begins to subside. Then you come nearer the shore. You feel a creeping sensation. You cannot see the distinctive profile of Stone Town. Oh, no. Smart, sweet, and beautiful Helen was your wife when she died. Despite the efforts that consumed you, you weren't able to save her from the disease-like disorder similar to tuberculosis that struck her. You've been dealing with your guilt since her passing. Do we do agility, or do we wait for... I think we wait. I think we wait. I think we just chill out for right now. We've arrived. This village is called Bombiweenie. I have some business to attend to. It's not a long way from here to Stone Town. Follow the coast southwards. You can't go wrong. You leave the fisherman's boat, and the man waves you goodbye with a smile as he makes his way for Bombiweenie. His help was invaluable. Without him, you would have wandered the African coast aimlessly before dying of starvation and exposure to the elements. The man demanded nothing of you, and you have no reason to betray him despite the minor change of course. You proceed towards the base, walking almost mechanically. Your legs simply want to reach their destination, while your mind is left to wander. Do you need mugs? No, I have too fucking many of them. Tell my husband to stop fucking buying mugs. He doesn't buy that many mugs, but we went on vacation, and he bought one, and I was like, God fucking damn it, we don't have room for any more mugs. The sun is setting slowly beyond the horizon, but you have not yet arrived. You choose to set up camp for the night, and luckily you find shelter in a seemingly suitable cave. The light from the campfire shines on the rock formation surrounding you, bathing it in shades of orange and red. Before you sleep, you eat the remaining food. Tomorrow you should manage to get to Stone Town easily and will be able to delight your palate with a decent meal. You lost an item, because we consumed it. Your head is pounding and you are exhausted after a long walk. You have the unnerving feeling that the second you close your eyes, there will be more nightmares awaiting you. Part of you doesn't want to sleep at all. You lie still for a couple of minutes before falling asleep. You wake up at the crack of dawn, and as expected, it's been a grueling night. But fortunately, you have no clear memory of what you dreamt. Captain Smith is already on his feet, ready to leave. You resume marching towards Stone Town. If Abbas was right, your destination shouldn't be far. You hope it proves true, because every minute you spend in these lands will always be a minute too many. I could do another chapter. Unless the outline of Stone Town appears in front of your eyes, you are relieved after the enormous weight of this difficult mission. Smith shares your relief, and you both pick up your pace to put this horrible experience behind you as soon as possible. But a few seconds later, you see a young British soldier running towards you frantically. They must have seen you from the watchtower. The soldier speaks with Captain Smith. You can't make a single word. A horrified expression, the likes of which you have never seen before, dawns on your captain's face. The two men sprint off home towards Stone Town. You feel weak. The trip was trying both mentally and physically. Your vision is clouded, and you suddenly faint right at the gates of Stone Town. You awaken some hours later in a cot bed near the infirmary. You are surrounded by chaos. Soldiers, doctors, nurses ceaselessly going to and fro. Something terrible must have happened during your absence. Two men on stretchers are being carried inside. You stand and follow them inside. Oofta. You're confronted with men screaming, convulsing, and others covered in sweat from burning fevers. Sores devastating the patient's skin, blood soaking their sheets, stained with body fluids. The wailing of the dying and cries of those who have lost their minds with feverish delirium echo throughout the large bare room. In the middle of all the confusion, you notice a doctor who you approach for some kind of explanation. We are hit by a violent epidemic, fevers, sores, hallucinations. The doctor doesn't wait around and immediately leaves to go take care of new patients. You know very well the symptoms the doctor just described. You look around and notice bodies lying on the floor. There's nothing to be done for them now. There's absolutely no time to waste. You're a doctor. You too must do your part. You approach one of the patients and start to inspect him. He has a abnormally high temperature. He's babbling meaninglessly, and the manning of lesions are visible on his skin. Symptoms you've come to be familiar with. The same disease that has struck East Africa. You immediately examine the patient's nape, expecting you'll find the bizarre markings you had observed in the other cases on the African villagers. However, to your greatest surprise, no trace of tiny punctures or the swelling. You can't help but wonder whether it's a different illness and begin to inspect the rest of the patient's body to test your theory. The sick man jerks and starts raving and writhing. Preventing you from continuing your examination, he looks straight into your eyes and reaches his arms out towards you, flailing in his search to grasp on something to crush. Some attendants rush over to hold him still, while you opt to leave. You absolutely have to talk to Smith. You leave the sick beds, doing your utmost to ignore the sounds of those screams and moans. You wish you could do something for them. But you need to talk to Smith and clarify why he was so upset at the information that Soldier carried. Could there be news about the disease itself? As you ponder this new question, you freeze on the spot at the sight of one of the infirmary cots. Smith is at the bedside of his son, Scott. He gonna die. The cold military facade the man had worn all throughout your missions lies shattered in front of the boy's frail body. Smith's pain led bare for all to see. Scott is convulsing and screaming incomprehensibly. As soon as Smith sees you, he leaves his child's bedside and approaches you impetuously. Huntington, I'm begging you, help my son. You must save him. You hesitate out of surprise, and Smith is almost on his knees in front of you. I mean, you should try. You immediately set out to lower the child's temperature, and luckily your efforts seem to bear fruit. This surely won't be enough to save him, but at least you've soothed his pain and gained some time, in case you should attempt a different approach later. It's a critical stage. Small sores start to appear on the child's skin, most likely together with internal bleeding. You fear it's too late to intervene and try to explain this to the captain to prevent him from getting his hopes up. Smith doesn't listen. He's not present. His eyes are fixed on the window. Scott's screams violently snap you back to reality. The child is screaming and writhing in his cot, unable to find peace as his skin erupts in small lesions. It's agonizing. You can't help but stare wide-eyed, horrored as the disease burns up the little innocent boy. His torment comes to an end at the end of the night. When hoarse from screaming, he dies in the arms of his father. You look inside at the scene, convinced that Smith is crying. You're overwhelmed by the great feeling of powerlessness. But you can't hold back your tears. You couldn't do anything. You weren't able to save Scott's life. During the trip on Abyss's fishing boat, you collapsed and were struck by a terrible nightmare. First you saw Helen, your wife, dying covered in blood. Then you experienced the attack of monstrous tentacles against your boat. Might those be the first symptoms showing that you two have contracted the illness? Do you need fidget toys? No? No. The disease spreads to Stone Town, infecting several people. Among the victims is Scott, Smith's son. Scott's condition doesn't seem to be improving, and despite your attempts, you cannot cure him from this terrible illness. Congrats on having followed for 7 whole months. Goddamn. You couldn't save Scott's life. How could we have saved Scott's life? We did the medical check, and it seemed to be okay-ish. I don't understand, because the only other option was to just be like, yup, we tried. Feels like years. You left the infirmary. You haven't had a minute rest before finding yourself yet again in the middle of a storm. You're exhausted. You come across some soldiers carrying a backpack and more exploration equipment. They finally found an expedition that had been missing for weeks. You move closer to learn more, trying to divert your thoughts away from the disease. The soldiers tell you about a troop which had left about 2 weeks ago in search of water springs inland. During the mission, the soldiers disappeared, never sending any message as to their whereabouts. The recovery team was given the task of finding them, but all they could find were the corpses of the men in the horrifying conditions. All of them. The soldiers stopped talking and shiver faintly, and they proceed to empty the salvaged backpacks and inspect their contents. Your attention is drawn by the thud of a diary falling on the table. You see it there, surrounded by other trinkets. You approach it, intending to examine it. The cover is inscribed with the name of Private Eric McLean. You untie the strings that hold the notebook closed. You open it and start to read. We were at the mercy of delirious savages. They were running towards us, their eyes bloodshot. We tried to locate an escape route, discovering only too late we had found ourselves in a horrendous trap. You rapidly flip through the rest of the diary, jumping back and forth between its pages to find more details. Last night, I was plagued by terrible nightmares, creatures only a feverish mind could produce. I believe these visions and dreams are closely linked to the disease itself, in whatever measure, however, I dare not say, unless I venture hypothesis that fall outside the canons of what we usually call science. You got more expertise point. Travel journal of a cartographer named Eric McLean is found. Some pages are torn, but the contents is clear. The cartographer fell victim to the same illness that is hitting Stonetown. We have 32. Fighting. Need more medicine. That would need 40. I feel like observation's gonna be really important right now. What are you reading, Private? One of the men has approached you with a curious look on his face, his eyes turning to the recovered diary. Why would you be a dick? You raise your eyes from the diary and address him politely. However, you absorb a certain greed in the soldier's eyes, fixated on what you're holding rather than on yourself. A diary recently recovered by the team. It belonged to one Eric McLean. You see, I don't think you should keep this. It could contain some important information. The man extends his palm and expects you to hand him the notebook. This man is a bit too demanding. Well, if it's so important, then it's in the right hands with me. The soldier grits his teeth and leaves. Who are you? Who the fuck are you? After this brief interruption, you're musing that what you have just read shares a number of traits with your current situation. Maybe you should continue reading later on when you are better able to concentrate. You slip the diary in your backpack just as another soldier approaches you. The man informs you that you've been summoned by your commanding officers. Your heart skips a beat, but you try to keep calm and follow the messenger. I think I'm going to stop here. That was a lot of reading. Okay. Lots of people die. Lots of people died. Let's see who we can rate. So, we've got Final Fantasy X, we've got Hades 2, we've got Warhammer 40k, Rogue Trader, we've got Sea of Stars, we've got Date Everything. What do you guys want to see? If no one has any opinions, we're gonna go to Hades too. But there is our raid message, but thank you guys so much for coming to stream. I will see you all next time, but not tomorrow. Bye!
Now, I think, at least.